morning. I want to show you guys what's in the shore box, and we'll try and do it in order of the list-ish, kind of. So come take a peek at the motor. That's the first thing we're going to look at. This is the Honda GX160. It's a 2-inch pump that I bought from Northern Tool and Equipment. Here you see the converter from gas to propane that we put on the motor. It just bolts on. It's pretty straightforward. If you're handy-ish with small engines, you won't have any trouble doing it, I don't think. If you are concerned about it or nervous about it, just bring it to however you bring your lawnmower to. This push fitting that comes off the bottom of this that goes to our supply tank, the diameter is pretty large, and so I had to pick up a piece of 3/8 inch inside diameter hose fuel line to mate with that, to connect with that. And I bought about 4 feet of it. They're attached, that hose is attached with just a hose clamp. There are a couple brass fittings here that mate to a 22-inch supply line for a grill, and that runs up to our changeover. The changeover ties both of these tanks together. The arrow's in this direction, so it'll run off of this tank until it reaches a minimum pressure, and then it'll begin to transfer over to this tank. Eventually, it'll shut this tank off completely. And once it does that, this will turn red. You can turn this arrow around to this tank, and the machine will continue to run the entire time, and you can disconnect this tank and throw on a new tank. The changeover, I just simply drilled a hole here and dropped a bolt through it, and it's just hanging on there. You'll see some washers here. These are extra washers or gaskets for the hoses. This O-ring is for the fill on the top of the pump, and I'll show you that. So this is where we prime the pump here, and there's an O-ring here. And so if you lose this O-ring, you won't be able to make a seal, you know? And so that's why I have an extra O-ring for that. And so you just prime your pump there. This is what the bucket's for. It's for priming the pump. I know that 1030 weight oil is on the list as well. The pumps come dry, you do need to fill it. And once you've done your initial run, I did change the oil. And then at the end of the season, I changed the oil as well. It's a good idea, I think, to have an ABS fire extinguisher with your equipment. So just something to add to the shore box. Again, it all fits in the box. The box is not something you need to build. You can always keep your pump in the shed with your LP tank and your discharge and intake hoses. If you come around to this side, we'll take a look at the hoses. This is the intake hose. It's a 2-inch hose, and it runs out to our water source. So you just throw this in the lake. This hook's on the end of the dock. On the far post, I've got a little hook that'll grab onto this thing and keep it in the water and keep it off the bottom. And so it's good to kind of think about that. Again, you prime it here. This is the discharge hose. The discharge hose is also a 2-inch hose, and it runs up to the flagpole. You can see I have it loaded into an IKEA bag, and it's loaded in such a way that when you walk out, as I walk with this, it just will feed out. The end of the hose has this male fitting that mates with the flagpole. That's it. To start it up, it's pretty straightforward. You turn the pump on. There's a little primer button over here on this side that I'm going to push, and you'll hear gas enter the system. And give her a pull.